Hello, it's Rowan from the Eternal Life Fan Club. And today I want to talk about, want to respond to something my roommate said. My roommate has triggered me once again. He's so good at triggering me. He just knows just what to say to just annoy me, okay? So, my roommate, if you don't know, he's the guy who wears these glasses, okay? He has a few different pairs of these laying around. He's not here right now. He went... he said he was looking for girls. He's like on the hunt because my roommate has now become like pretty much a player. Okay, he's really trying to like, he's reading all those like player books and he's like trying to become a peacocking and he's in town right now trying to mingle, trying to find a girl because now he like really he's become a real sick type person. He wants to just like he wants to do casual sex. He's really into promiscuity now. And I think he's already slept around with a few girls. He's pretty gross. He's really disgusted me, his behavior. So don't go down his path, people. That's what happens when you become this fearless person. He's not even afraid of catching STDs and he's not even afraid of the possible judgment of the hypothetical God, considering, hey, maybe a God would judge him for being such a promiscuous slut now. He's actually that, yeah. He's really become quite the hedonist, and it's sick. Sick. Anyways, here's what he had to say. There is no heaven. There is no God. That's just a matter of fact. Then he cut to this silly scene. He was editing a video, and he cut to this scene from the movie This Is the End. And really, that was like a propaganda technique, because he was trying to make the whole God thing look so silly. Because he cuts to this stupid, silly scene where it's like heaven is like this ridiculous looking thing. Okay, so that's a propaganda technique, and that's just annoying. It annoys me when people resort to using propaganda because they don't have a real argument, so they're just gonna use propaganda. That's what my roommate does a lot. So I just want to say that really, just because I believe in God, my conception of the conception of heaven and the conception of all these traditional religious ideas, it can be very different than people might think. So, like, I just consider all the different possibilities. Like, just because there's a God doesn't mean there's even a heaven. Let's get that on the table. So God doesn't equal heaven. It could be that there is no heaven. It could be that this life is the heaven. And the reason we're trying to gain favor with the hypothetical God is just that the God might have the power over whether or not we even just get to continue existing in this realm, this physical realm. So God does not equate a spiritual realm. People think of spirits. They think of metaphysical ideas like the soul. Okay, believing in God does not equate to those concepts. Just like I was saying, if there's a God, literally, the reason we're trying to, make this God like us, we're trying to live life as though it's a test, and we're trying to live as though we might be judged by God, is because I'm thinking, well, if there's a God, God could at least have the power to destroy me at any point. Physically. I'm talking about my physical body. God could technically, if God has any kind of power at all, then God could hypothetically just destroy me physically. In which case God would have the power over whether or not I'm even allowed to continue to exist. Because God could be like the ultimate mafia boss. Think of God as the ultimate mafia boss, and he gets to decide whoever lives and dies. He gets the idea he doesn't like someone, he's like, oh, go take care of that person. He's just kill him, right? He has his little, it could be a secret society. Obviously, we're talking a very, very powerful secret society. The most elite, highest secret society there is of like really advanced technology, things like that, where like God could just press a button and just explode my head, right? If I have this chip implanted in me or something. Like,
when you smile and you sing, everything you can do, and it brings out life from the with a smile and a song.
what I'm saying is like anything's possible when it comes to God. And when you tell someone you believe in God, it's like they immediately just assume all this stuff. It's like the concept of God comes with all this baggage, like traditional ideas of God. But God, the concept of God is such a broad concept. It can open you up to different possibilities. So like, for instance, one of these things is like God could be just like, if this was a simulation, if this realm was a simulation, if everything we see around us is not the base reality. Basically, if we're in the Matrix, then God would be the creator of that Matrix. God would be the architect of whoever is programmed this Matrix. And I'm not saying we're in a Matrix, I'm just throwing out another hypothetical possibility of how God can be, doesn't have to be attached to weird mystical things. Like that's the whole concept of an architect of a Matrix is a very plausible scenario where essentially that's a God, right? If we're in a Matrix and there's an architect, that's, for all intents and purposes, that's like they would have the power of a God, and so they're basically God. I mean, if we're in a Matrix, then the programmer gets to decide who lives, who dies, who gets to continue existing, who doesn't, who gets eternal life, who doesn't, this sort of thing. So yeah. And even if there was a heaven doesn't have to be in a spiritual place. A heaven could be literally, if God likes what you're doing, if you've passed the test or something, then heaven could be the equivalent of being taken over to a different planet, like the heaven planet, or it could be taken underground to some safety place. It's like, who the heck knows? But it's like, I'm just trying to throw out possibilities that seem less crazy. Because when people think of God, it's like they think of just like these people floating up in the clouds, and it's very weird. All right? That's a weird concept. So believing in God, it doesn't have to entail all these weird traditional concepts of God. It could be more scientific. It could be more logical. Not to say all those other traditional views of God are unlogical, but I'm just saying there's anything's possible, really. Basically, I just want to summarize here by saying people are pretty, I would say they're pretty cocky. Really cocky when it comes to God, like, because they're thinking like they don't want to be considering even the possibility of a God, when really they should just admit, if they're being intellectually honest, they should admit that literally there could be this higher power, this unknown powerful being or group of beings. God could be more like a network, like a secret society. It doesn't have to be just one person. It could be like a whole network, a whole secret society that literally have the power over your life. So people need to just humble themselves a little bit and just admit that in order to get eternal life, they might need to pass some kind of morality test that might be in play, right? You might be being spied on. Imagine a government agency, the power they would have to spy on someone with all their technology. Well, imagine that times 1,000. And that could be the power that God has to spy on you and look at everything you're doing and watching you and judging you. And you might be tested. This whole thing might be a test, right? And so live that way. Live like you're being tested. Live like you're being judged, because that is what's safe. That is what's smart. That is what's smart. Thank you. May you live forever.
But let's be frank, you never wanted my friendship. You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather. What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectful?